My name is Ashley, and I'm going to kind of be taking you through my thought process as to my code. I more than likely did this all kinds of backwards, jumping from this to that to this to that. I could have done it in a better order, to be honest, but that aside, once I settled on what I wanted to do my project on, which is mushrooms, because that is a very popular thing around here, whether it be mushroom hunting or just the knowledge of it, because there are so many. First thing I did was I created my mushroom scraper, because I wanted it to be able to pull certain data or scrape certain data from the URL. So with this, these are the classes and things that I used Nokogiri for, to parse and everything else and pull it from the website, which is like their kingdom and phylum and class and order and family and genus. Now, right here, I did a K class, because if you use a C class, it tries to create a whole new class, and that just does not work out very well. I figured that out. Now, with the name up here, as you can see, it has the doc.css, which is what I used with the Nokogiri, with the first text and strip. Now, I did that because it kept trying to pull up so much with that I used the first and text and strip to narrow it down to just the name itself, instead of all the extra stuff it had with it. And then the rest of it, it had an anchor set up with it. So it was a lot easier, because it was just the div, which the class, and then it'd be kingdom and phylum and class and order and family and genus. And I used this here with the C on the class, because trying to pull it with a K, I'm assuming would give me an error, because with it being set up like that, it's giving it something that it's trying to pull from and not creating a new one. And with all this here, that created my mushroom info in this hash. So jumping from there, and my mushroom.new from Wikipedia is from another one, which I think, yeah. So after I did that, because I required my spec helper up here, I had to create a spec helper. And of course I did it a little backwards. But this is where my require for the library mushroom, where I required my Nokogiri and the open URI. Now, having never messed with code before I got into Flatiron and all this stuff being thrown at me, I was kind of, in all honesty, I was lost. Me and terminology do not mix very well, so trying to remember the stuff has been a challenge. But I would have to say I really like the Nokogiri for the fact that it did parse the website to where I could easily pinpoint what I'm looking for. It made it so much easier than when I initially tried to do it, was sit here just inspect, and I'm like trying to look through this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? So after going through all that and everything, I eventually created all my other files over here. My start file being the last one. Kind of an oxymoron there, but hey. Now, we went through the scraper, here's my spec helper. Now, my mushroom file itself, of course, you see it requires Nokogiri and OpenURI. When I went through and did everything on the choices, I used pry on that one. But this one is pretty much showing my where I created my class for mushroom, showing my attribute accessors and all that, my constructor, and then my self class, well, my self.all, and then I used a custom constructor to help pull that in, because I wanted this to kind of iterate over, like pull it in, but be able to iterate over. So like this is going to stand for like name. And then the V would be like, okay, the name is, and it would bring in the like giant puffball or the scientific name. That way it would be able to do what I needed it to do. So, and of course I have my version so that it will run the way it's supposed to. And yes, I am all over the place going through this, but that is how my brain works. Now here is my CLI choices file, which of course require a relative mushroom scraper, and this is where I did the require pry so that it would show what I needed. Now this was creating my class intro to mushrooms. And what I wanted here for this one was I wanted it to output welcome to intro to mushrooms. So by doing that, like you bring it up and it'd say welcome to intro to mushrooms. I wanted something simple, not too Now for our mushroom scrapers from the Wikipedia, it shows right here is the one for the giant puffball, which it does pull it up by its common name. But in the URL, it shows its scientific name. Now for the next one, which is actually a maitake, which is also called a ram's head, it brings up the scientific name here. I will not even try to pronounce that because I will botch it. Now, I was wanting to try and pull it with ram's head, but because of the apostrophe S, it kind of gave me a few issues. So I went with the Japanese common name, which is still also kind of known here in the US, which is maitake. Now for our down here is so it will pull the mushroom list up here. So when it prints it out, it'll bring it up. My mushroom list right here, after it puts the welcome to intro to mushrooms, I have it say, please type in the name of the mushroom. And I used the two that I have for it to scrape as more or less kind of like a choice or like suggestions. So that's why it's worded the way it is. Like, please type in a name of a mushroom. If you're not sure, here's a couple of suggestions for you. So like, okay, type in giant puffball or type maitake. And then down here, what it's doing is it's calling the mushroom search method, but it has the argument for the get input from user, which is down here. That way, like they type it in, it'll bring up what they want. If it's not in there, like the only two I have in there is giant puffball, maitake. Any others they try to put in there, it'll bring up wrong information, please try again. Now here is where this came in. Well, kind of all of this, but when they type in like giant puffball or maitake, this is kind of what it's going to bring up. The name, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, and genus, like the actual names for each one, which one they are considered under. But for that to work, I had to do, of course, my mushroom list, which is called up here, which is what pulls all of this, well, pulls this. Because right here it's pulling mushroom search, which is down here. I did the input equals input.down case because not everybody like capitalizes the first letter or whatever. They're just like, okay, I want to type this in, I want to get it done. So we did that. If the input was not, if the input didn't match what was in there, or no, if the input equaled exit, like they typed exit like they wanted to get out of it, then it would actually exit the program. So now here we did for it to where it could, like, if it found the mushroom, then it would pull it by doing the mushroom.all.find. And again, name, down case for the input. If it couldn't find it, like found mushroom would compare it to nil, then it'd say wrong information, please try again. But if found mushroom worked, then the print mushroom information, which is right here, this method, and with the argument of found mushroom, then it would print out the mushroom list, which of course is this right here. So with all that, being able to print and everything, I ran into some problems while I was doing this. I first went through, did it, okay, it was working, but there was still a couple errors. Went through, tried a while loop method. And where it got narrowed down to, okay, yeah, it would put that and it would let you exit. But if you put in something that was wrong, that it couldn't scrape the information, it would bring up wrong information, please try again, and just continuously loop, and it wouldn't stop. I honestly thought I broke my code majorly at that point. But then with help, we ended up like doing a recursion setup to where, okay, the user, like this comes up, your mushroom list comes up. So it'll come up, welcome to Intro to Mushrooms. Please type in the name of a mushroom. If you're not sure, here's a couple of suggestions for you. Type giant puffball, type maitake. And then when you type it up, it will pop up with your mushroom, your print mushroom information, which worked before. And then, but then once you've done that, it will bring the introduction back up, or the welcome. So it'd bring all this back up. Well, not all that, but what I wanted it to put. And so it wouldn't give you where you could type it again. If you typed in something that wasn't in there, it would bring up this. And this time, instead of continuously looping, it would bring it up once, and then it'd bring up the welcome area again. So there, it would make it a whole lot easier instead of like, oh no, I broke my code, which I thought I had done. But with help, I was able to get it fixed, because I wasn't understanding why it was able to be narrowed down to that, but then this would do it. So we did like a recursion setup for it to do that. And then we had the print mushroom information, found mushroom, mushroom list. After going through all that and having done my mushroom scraper and RB and I had done the mushroom scraper spec. I actually did it before the choices. But what this is showing is what I'm wanting it to pull. Like this is specific for the giant puffball. I want them to bring up the instance of a mushroom. So I want the giant puffball name to equal the scientific name. The kingdom is fungi, and then so on and so forth. Which, what this is doing is pretty much instantiating a mushroom based on Wikipedia, because that's where I pulled everything from. And we went through my spec. Now, my gem spec. Of course, it's one of the, I didn't create my gem spec. If I had, I probably would have broke the entire thing. So it has all my information that I need on here for this. Now, my CLI mushrooms is showing my requires for it to be able to do all this together, so that all my files separately will work and kind of coordinate together for them to scrape from the website the information I'm wanting it to put. So with this in mind, what I am going to do, well, first let's check. Okay, what I'm wanting it to do is bring up this kind of information. Whoa, hang on, before I try to break my code again. Okay, I want it to bring up this right here. So what I will do here, give me just a second. Okay, I did that wrong. Now here's something I forgot to go over, was the start. We used a shebang here to kind of make it work. And then require the CLI mushrooms, which is pretty much everything in here. And then the intro to mushrooms, which, trying to remember where I put the intro to mushrooms. Oh, my class of intro to mushrooms is within my mushroom choices. Okay, so we're gonna go back to this. And I typed in ruby.bin/start.rb. See what it brings up. Let's try that again. Okay, give me just a minute here. Okay, well, actually, while you're here, why I have this recording, I will figure out what I'm doing wrong. Okay. Oh boy. Because I was doing the Ruby bin last night, and I can't seem to get it to run. So, oh, I see exactly what I did. I forgot to do that part. So let's see how this works now. And no, it didn't. All right, well, let's see here. Because it's showing I'm in my scraping project. So this is what kind of gets me on this, is that I can figure stuff out in certain areas, but other ones I get stuck. So I'm gonna sit here and think about this for a minute and see what I can figure out. Okay, so let's see. I am trying different ways to do this because this is what I had used when I finished and it was working fine. I don't want that. Where is that? For things I know I don't remember, I try to make notes, but it doesn't. Apparently, it's not always. Me and my typing in the wrong spots. I know it's supposed to be the bin and start, but why it's not doing what I would want? Because see, I thought I tried that up there. I did, right there, and it gave me this. Load error, no file or directory. Okay. Let's try a new terminal just to see if it helps. Okay, no, I did not want to push that because I've already pushed it. What am I doing wrong here? If I could type, that would be better. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Okay, I could have sworn that's what I was doing last night. Okay, so I figured out what I was doing. I had it in the project, but not in the CLI. So I did the CD to CLI mushrooms, which is this right here. So then the Ruby ./bin/start.rb worked. So this is what it comes up with. Now, I will type in maitake and see it gives you all this. Now, what it doesn't show is the phylum, because this one, it doesn't have a phylum classified to it yet. So let's see if what would happen if I put in a morel. See, it says wrong information right here. It says wrong information, please try again, which is what I wanted it to do. So it'd bring all that back up. So, and then let's say we want to do giant puffball, but we don't want to capitalize anything. This is where the down case came into play. It fixed it. The kingdom, fungi. And this one does have a phylum, which is right there. And then it shows the class under it and the order and family and then the genus. And then if they wanted to bring up more, there it is. Now it says giant puffball right here because there's not a space between the choices and where they type. But I did try to put a space between the information they're receiving and then the next one that would come in. So I wanted it to work kind of like that. Now, this is nowhere near what I was hoping to accomplish because I kind of tend to want to go large or go home, and you can't always do that, especially when you're working with stuff you are just learning like I am. So I kept it simple. Just a couple right now, and then I can, with it being pushed to GitHub, and being on my computer, I can save it, which it is saved, and add to it as I go and learn more stuff. So like, if I want to break it down just a little bit more, add more mushrooms to it and all that, I am confident that I will eventually be able to do that, even with just the knowledge I have now, but not being on such a time limit. I can sit here and play with this thing and add mushrooms and mushrooms and mushrooms, and there's millions of different kinds of mushrooms. But what I would like it to eventually do is give them the option to pull up information like what it's showing, or just pull up if it's edible or toxic, or that in between one where, okay, edible but not recommended kind of thing. So that is a little bit about my code, my thought process, and how it went. And yes, I know it's all over the place, but that's how my brain works. It always has. It'll eventually be better. But thank you for taking the time to listen to me ramble, and hopefully it made a little bit of sense.